and so now we're going into the fourth quarter, and again, whether you're in real estate or whether you're in sales or whatever, it's like there's things that we need to be doing in the fourth quarter to kind of prep ourselves for a successful coming year. So, and I hesitate to say 2023 because we could release this in 2023 and it would still apply to 2024.
Yeah.
So any year in the fourth quarter is really where we need to evaluate our business. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Are you cool? So we're going to get this fired up.
All right.
All right. Hey, what's going on, everyone? It is Tim here with the TMA Connection. It's a local podcast that focuses on the people, the places, and the events that are making a difference in our community. And we got a special one here for you today. I've been looking forward to this one. This one could apply for real estate agents, but it's also going to apply to anybody that's in sales or business, or anyone that's just setting some goals and trying to go into the next year a little bit better than we were this year. So always looking to grow. And today we have the vice president, the regional vice president of Berkshire Hathaway PenFed Realty, close friend and coach of mine, Mr. Chris Perry. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it.
This is so exciting. You've been doing real estate for a while now. I'm going to not take too much out of this introduction. So give everybody a little bit of an idea of who you are.
Sure. Yeah. So I got into real estate as a second generation realtor. My mom's been a realtor since I was 6 years old, and I got into real estate in 2007, which was a great year to start, as most remember.
And that is a sarcastic comment because 2007, if we remember, is when the market kind of started to go down.
Yeah, it was kind of in the toilet, right? 07, 08, etc. So it was a good time to learn, but anyhow, that's when I got into real estate and kind of just had to do the right things every single day, day in and day out, and perform the right habits, create the right habits. So got started in 07, and I was doing new construction for 7 years. And then after that, got into a more recruiting and coaching role in 2014. Mm-hmm. And a few years later, was still in that role. I ended up also becoming a coach of a large team and coached agents virtually in 9 different states. Oh, wow. So that was a fun experience. And then just 3 years ago, or 3.5 now, was lucky enough to be called by Berkshire Hathaway PenFed Realty, and now I'm here as a regional vice president.
Yes, and you guys have done a phenomenal job within the 3 years. We're going to be interviewing our branch manager, Jane Foyne, on another podcast. But we've seen a lot of growth here at the brokerage, and so one of the biggest, I guess, benefits to being in this office is the amount of support you get, the amount of professional development you get. Because, you get your real estate license, you've memorized all these laws and everything, and then it's like, okay, well, now you need to learn how to run your business.
Yeah, you have no clue what to do, exactly.
Right. And so now we're going into the fourth quarter, and again, whether you're in real estate or whether you're in sales or whatever, it's like there's things that we need to be doing in the fourth quarter to kind of prep ourselves for a successful coming year. So, and I hesitate to say 2023 because we could release this in 2023 and it would still apply to 2024.
Yeah.
So any year in the fourth quarter is really where we need to evaluate our business. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
Absolutely.
Are you cool? So we're going to get this fired up.
All right.
All right. The title of this podcast should be The Fourth Quarter Rally.
I like that. That sounds good to me.
If anybody saw the Ravens game the other day, maybe they need to listen to the podcast. All right. So we're going to talk about 4 things that people can do to prepare to succeed. Failing to prepare is preparing to fail. Failing to prepare is preparing to fail. Benjamin Franklin said that. Mm-hmm. So let's prepare. Let's talk about the first thing that people should be focusing on to have success in the coming year.
Absolutely. So I'll try to keep it generic, but with the real estate background, I might also, kind of lace in a little bit of real estate into this. But the first and foremost thing, and I actually heard a quote, but the first thing is growth plan, right? A personal growth plan, which obviously incorporates your business into that as well. But there was a quote that I heard and it's apparently from Buddha, smart guy. But it says you cannot travel the path until you have become the path itself. So when I heard that, it was literally this morning, which was perfect timing for the conversation. At first I was like, what in the heck does that mean? That's really philosophical. And then obviously it's all about, who am I becoming, right? Mm-hmm. What am I doing to be better every single day? So the growth plan specifically is more about, how am I focusing on creating a domino effect in my life? What events am I going to? What classes am I going to? What books am I reading? What podcasts am I listening to? This one being one of the amazing ones, right?
Absolutely. Like and subscribe.
Absolutely, that's it. The masterminds, right? Sharing ideas with other, top professionals in whatever industry that you're in. Just what circle are you traveling in, and what are they also helping, with as far as your growth plan is concerned. So I think that, focusing on 4 things, that's the first one, right? We can talk till we're blue in the face about all the activities and everything, but if you're not focused on getting better, and especially when a market shifts in whatever industry you're in, we're going through a little shiftiness right now in the real estate market. If you're not continuing to improve, then you're going to lose market share. You're going to lose credibility, right? You're going to lose potential referral opportunities, and that snowball effect that in any type of business based on referrals is what's going to really keep you afloat during the tough times, right? So growth plan, I think, is absolutely number one when you ask me this question, because everything else is built off of that.
Sure. What sections of people's lives are usually focused on when they're looking at a personal development plan for themselves?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it's not, I'm glad you asked, that's not just like a business thing, right?
Right.
And most of the stuff I just mentioned was just business. A lot of it also is about, financial and net worth. If you want to grow your net worth, how are you focusing on that? Who are you hanging out with that pays attention to that for themselves too, and how are they helping you with that? Exercise, health, relationships, right? So, there's that exercise that some of us have done, some of us may not have, about like the circle of life where, you have different facets that people track.
Okay.
And you rank it from 0 to 10, with 0 being absolutely horrible, 10 being the best it could ever be. And I recommend everybody do that as part of their growth plan. It's like, first you got to know, awareness, right? Like, am I aware of where I'm even at with these different facets of my life? And then that'll give you like the idea of the flat tire. Where do I need to focus on to make sure that this tire is completely full, right?
Right. Yeah, definitely developing a more self-awareness of yourself.
Yeah.
is super important. That's awesome. All right, let's talk number 2.
Yeah. So the second thing is, when you are looking at your business, I think every great business has a very clarified mission, vision, and value system, right? So when you think about mission, you're thinking about what are you focusing on accomplishing with your business, whatever business it may be. The mission is what you're accomplishing, right? And what people will know you for. The vision is who you're becoming, whether it be personal or as a business. If you run a business, what is your business going to be seen as? What are they becoming as you're looking at accomplishing your mission, right? And then the values are, what do you believe in, and what does your circle believe in? What does your company stand for? So these are all things that shouldn't just be up on the wall or in your marketing packets or whatever. These are things that you live and people can see by example.
Right.
This defines Tim or whoever it may be.
Yeah. How do you remind yourself of that on just a daily basis? I mean, is there to always go back to those things when you're doing business?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think with goals and MVV, these are things like, so for example, when I first came here to Berkshire PenFed, I noticed that we have a really good MVV and it's all over the place, but it wasn't in the offices, right? It wasn't on the wall so everyone can see it right when they walk in. So in our office here, Tim, one of the first things I said is like, let's get this thing printed out nice and big, put it in a frame so everybody knows what we stand for.
Right.
So this basically represents not only what the company stands for, but who we're attracting to the company and who we're aiming to keep at the company as well. Right?
Sure.
And then also, for any business owner, the MVV is also meant to build a moat around your business, right? Because you don't only want to keep the good people in, you want to keep the people that may not be a good fit for the company out.
Right.
If they don't represent your MVV properly. So
it really aligns with, when you're looking into the hiring process, whether it's you're hiring for your business or you're recruiting for a brokerage.
Yeah.
And you really want to make sure that the person that you're talking to kind of aligns with those core values and vision and what was the M again?
Yeah.
Mission.
So mission, values, but,
Yeah.
and then from a business perspective, that's one thing, recruiting perspective, but then also as a salesperson or a realtor too, if you don't own your own business, this also applies to who are you working with? What does your client base look like? Who am I trying to target with my marketing and my lead generation? And are they in line with what I believe too, right?
Yeah, right.
Because typically, birds of a feather flock together, right? People trust and want to work with people that are like them.
Right.
So the better you are defining your MVV and then focusing on folks that have a similar, kind of feel, and belief system,
Sure.
the more likely you are to succeed.
Yeah, very harmonious when you have a client that shares the same values as you do. Yeah, awesome. All right, Let's talk about number 3.
Yeah, sure. So this kind of falls in line with number 2, but it is a different exercise. I mean, you have to define your why, right? We've all been in a couple different places that do the same thing, and you can tell which one has more of a purpose or a passion and which one is just kind of like dotting the I's and crossing the T's, right? So defining your why, what drives you, what gets you up in the morning, what is the purpose of what you're doing, right?
Yeah, right.
What kind of legacy are you leaving? How are you leaving the world a better place? And whether it be a realtor or a business owner or a salesperson, whoever you are, this applies to you, right? Even if you don't own your own business, there's still things that, like, I don't own my own business personally, right? But there's still things that I can do with my role, my job, the income that I make that I can give back to certain, things that are important to me or the community, making an impact in agents' lives, like you said, being, a coach. So you just got to figure out what is your why, right? And what drives you and what's that purpose behind it.
So important. So important. There's a book out there by Simon Sinek that is Start With Why.
Yeah.
It's a really, really powerful book because, again, if you don't have that intention in the beginning of something that's bigger than yourself, you're I think you're limiting your potential.
Absolutely. And I think, that's a great book to read to at least start that journey, and then Find Your Why is another good follow-up one if you're having struggles to figure out what that may be.
And being a former high school teacher and even having my kids at the age they are right now, that's such a huge question for that kind of 18 to 22-year-old phase of life. Is like, what am I really here for?
Sure. Yeah, exactly.
And part of the exploration is that self-awareness and growth that you're gonna have as a human being is going through that phase.
Absolutely.
It's like, you're gonna figure it out, and if you don't, then you pivot.
And I will say, I agree with you, Tim, on that. And similar to what you were just mentioning, sometimes you have to have the right background and experiences in life to understand what that may even be. And what I find is many times for high producers, it's something that either happened to them personally or happened to someone that's very close to them, and they're super passionate about giving back to whatever that charity is, whether it be their time, their money, their volunteerism. So if you're lacking a why out there, I would just recommend what has impacted you or your family in a big way, and how can you help other people with something like that.
That's great. So number 1, personal growth plan. Number 2, defining your mission, values, and vision, and living it. Being clear about your why. Let's talk about the 4th one.
Yeah, so the 4th one is focusing on the right things. I'm actually reading a book right now called A CEO Only Does 3 Things. So the book again is called A CEO Only Does 3 Things. And what he talks about there is the focus for a CEO is culture, people, and numbers. So those are the only 3 things a CEO focuses on. So, obviously, to get to a CEO role, you got to know what you're doing. You got to, work your butt off. But it does, the buck doesn't stop there, right? If you're not caring for what your work environment stands for and what type of experience your people are having, that's going to be the first, and that's the first thing they talk about is culture, right? Am I plugging into a culture where I feel good and feel like I belong? So from a business owner perspective, or a salesperson, realtor, etc., that same applies for the client, right? Going back to that MVV, if you're focusing on the culture you're building, by developing your why, developing your MVV, the culture hopefully should be taken care of, right? The one aspect from a business owner perspective is if you have a team that you're managing or leading, it also applies not just to your clients, but to the people that are inside of your team, right?
Right.
So that's something too, Tim and I talk a lot about that is, how do we engage our people, right? Our team members, how do we build a culture on the team where everybody feels appreciated and, loved and energized, right? Motivated to achieve what they're looking to achieve. So culture is one of the biggest things, and it ties back into how am I impacting my people? How am I helping them grow? How am I helping their quality of life? Do they even know that I care, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of, whether it be CEOs, business owners, salespeople, clients or team members, etc., they don't always know because you're so focused on a goal or an activity. They don't always know that you actually care, right? The quote that, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Right.
That quote always, stands out to me and always kind of trumps the rest. So making sure that people know that you care. And then lastly, again, going into that business planning season that we're in right now, and the whole focus of this call, numbers, right? Numbers is what we need to focus on too. So first of all, are we focusing on our numbers, right? What numbers are we focusing on? Because then there's also the 80-20 rule, and there's so many different things you could look at, from a statistics perspective as a business owner or a salesperson. So are you focusing on numbers? Are you focusing on the right numbers that are going to drive your productivity and your results?
Right.
And then, obviously noticing that, the other numbers are important, but there's a few that are really important, right? And then the other thing that's, important is how it all ties in together, right? If you take care of your culture, of your client experience, and your people that are on your team and your business, then the numbers typically they're a domino, right?
Yeah.
You still need to focus on them, but if you take care of those first two, the numbers will probably show up at a higher level.
So good, so good. And you know what? You're talking about like a CEO level position, but I think we're all a CEO of something. Like, you're the CEO of yourself, you're the CEO of your family. It's like, how can you incorporate maybe even these 4 things into how you work with your family?
That's a great point.
Yeah,
I love that, and I think that's what's neat about all these business books is you can apply a lot of it to the personal life too, right?
100%.
And in reality, personal bleeds into professional. So it's whatever you do in one can affect the other for sure.
Yeah. What do you think of the 4 that we've been talking about? Where do you think people fall short? Which one of those do you think most people fall short with, and why?
Yeah, so I think it's really about knowing what your lead measures and lag measures are. So a lot of people, they don't focus on the why and the how. They know what they want to accomplish, right? So I want to sell 30,000 widgets next year, whatever it may be. But they don't create a system and accountability to succeed in achieving that, right? So, through my coaching throughout the years, I've noticed that a lot of realtors in my field, they have a number, a certain amount of volume they want to get to. But that's easy. You can slap that number up on the wall, right?
Sure.
Why is that number important, right? Get down to the dirt, the nitty gritty, down and dirty of like, what can I do with the money that I make from that, and what kind of difference can I make in that, and what difference does it make in my life, my family, again, how professional, personal is tied in together. So a lot of times, if we're speaking 4DX language, 4 Disciplines of Execution, another great book, too many people focus on the lag measure, which is the result, and not the actual, journey to get to that destination.
Oh, so good. So good. In passing the other day, and this I don't know if you really knew how much of an impact you had a question that you put on me, and I'm still thinking it through.
Okay.
But you said, what is Tim Markland's dream? And you just froze me in my tracks.
Yeah.
But I think part of my answer, when I'm going to give you a really freaking good answer,
I like it.
Okay?
Okay.
At some point, not right now, but part of this answer is, if we get too caught up in what's out there very far away, I know we got to aim for something, but if we look too far into the future, we really miss what's going on right now.
Yeah.
And for me, being present and appreciating and having a level of gratitude that I feel now, and because if I'm always focused on something that's in the future and not appreciating the now, eventually we're going to get there, and we're going to see that we might have missed a whole lot along that journey that you were talking about.
Absolutely, yeah. You just feel like you're going through the motions, right? And I think if you don't celebrate the little victories, it's going to be tough to remember what the mission was all about in the first place.
Yeah. That was great, man. That was great. So we got a personal growth plan, defining your MVV, being clear about your why, and focusing on the right things. That is awesome. So let's wrap this up, okay? Got a few fire questions here for you.
Okay.
All right. And you've mentioned a couple books, okay? The one I wrote down, A CEO Only Does 3 Things. Other than that book, what's one book that has really made an impression or an impact on your life?
Yeah, sure. So I'm not going to curse on this podcast, but
you can, because Jay bleeps it out.
Oh, perfect. Good job, Jay. I like Jay.
Yes.
But no, the title, and it's not me cursing, it's the title of the book.
Yep.
The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F.
Okay.
Is the title of the book.
So clean.
By
So
Mark
clean.
Manson. So
good job.
He, the reason that had a great impact on my life is I think everybody, whether you want to admit it or not, we have only so much energy or focus to give to things, right? And the whole book, and it gives multiple examples and multiple ways that you can apply this to your life. Because when you first read the title, it's kind of like, okay, this guy doesn't care about anything, right? Like,
right.
he's just some So, when in fact he's actually a very, very hardworking, smart person, an author, etc. But it talks a little bit about where you just have to channel your focus to the right things. So going back to that 80-20 rule with numbers, the same thing goes for your energy and your focus.
Right.
If you're focusing 80% of your energy on stuff that's not going to get you to the next level, then guess where you're going? You're not going to the next level, right?
Right.
So that's the whole idea. Is just the whole book. If you read that, I think that'll help kind of frame your mindset a little bit.
I like that. Podcast, other than the TMA Connection,
Of course.
that has really kind of helped you in leadership or in business, in your life.
Yeah, sure. So I will admit I don't listen to very many podcasts, but the one that stands out that I listen to pretty much weekly is the Jocko podcast. So Jocko, love him or hate him, that guy is super disciplined, right?
Yes.
When you learn his story about his military experience and how he consults all these different businesses now because of all the success that he's had, and now he's a serial entrepreneur, etc. And then all the different interviews that he does on there with different business professionals, military. He honors people that I respect first of all, but he also embodies a lot of things that quite frankly. I'm jealous of a lot of them because I'm not always the best disciplined, right? I'm very aware of these types of things where, I can get lazy. I'm not very disciplined. He's like, you know what? I don't care how I feel. I'm going to do it, right?
I follow him on Twitter, and every morning he has a picture of his watch at 4:30 a.m.
Yeah.
It's like
going to the gym.
Going to the gym.
Yep.
Going to work out. But a lot of the in the morning when I work out, I listen to a lot of the YouTube kind of motivational, collages of content, and Jocko's always on there.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Jocko Willink.
Makes sense.
Yep. All right. If you could invite 3 people out to dinner that would help drive your business's success in the coming year, anybody, who would you invite to dinner and pick their brain?
I like it. So I was thinking about this because there's so many people you could invite, right?
Sure.
And there's different reasons why I invited the 3 people. So Jocko would be the first one, and that's because of his discipline and his character, and also his ability to consult, so many different industries and business professionals across industries. So I feel like I could definitely take away a lot from the one-on-one, if you will, of that. And then, again, love him or hate him, he can be a little crazy sometimes, but Elon Musk as well is another one.
Sure.
I think that, like you said, looking into the future, we've got to appreciate the present, but we also have to know, one of the things I never got around to talking about was, where people fall short is a SWOT analysis, knowing your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. I think Elon Musk is so visionary and always looking at what's next and pushing the envelope. So I think anybody in any industry can learn from, where should I be looking at, right? What should I be looking at? And then actually a close friend of mine, Andrew Krajewski, he is actually someone who is a very smart business person and works for a small bank, a very successful bank down in Texas. And he knows how my personality applies to, work. So I think it's important to not only, get all this feedback from top professionals, but it's also, you got to look through the lens of who you are.
Right.
And that's my best friend and also a very smart business person. So I think it's important to have that awareness going into something like that.
Love it. Love it. All right. Going out to eat tonight.
Ooh.
You're paying.
You coming?
Where are we going?
All right.
Where's your favorite place to go eat in Harford County?
In Harford County?
Yeah.
So whether it be lunch or dinner, I love Thai Spice, which is in the Festival Shopping Center.
Oh.
Awesome Thai food.
I've never been there.
It's really good.
Is it all spicy?
It's not all spicy. You can actually have it level 1 to 5. So
They have levels.
if you want it really spicy, 5. I don't recommend that.
I would be a level 1.
Yeah.
I am a level 1 kind of guy.
I stick with a 3. That way you get a little spice, but you're not regretting it the next day.
Awesome. All right. Favorite brewery?
Favorite brewery probably is Falling Branch in this area. So, just with all the different family things that they have there, and the venue, and I think that they do the best job.
Now,
And their beer's good.
Now, if people are friends with you on Facebook, they know this big time. You're a big bourbon guy.
I do like bourbon.
You're a big bourbon guy.
Yeah.
And whatever answer you give me, I will have no freaking clue how to relate. But I figured I'd throw this question in just to just to relate to you a little bit.
Sure.
What's your favorite kind of bourbon?
Yeah, so there's a lot of big names out there, but I think the one question a lot of people look at with bourbon is, what's one that's affordable that I can, have a sip of every week and not feel like I'm breaking the bank,
What's the most expensive bourbon?
Oh, there's a lot of them out there, but
Yeah.
the most expensive I've ever bought was Pappy Van Winkle. So that's definitely one that's hard to find, as any other bourbon enthusiast knows. And so I did get a bottle 2 years ago, but I have not gotten one since then.
Okay.
Nor have I really tried too much on that, because it is difficult. But Woodford Reserve Double Oaked is a very good bourbon that's under $50. So.
If you like bourbon, check it out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Man, I've got a lot of questions. I don't realize how many follow-up questions I had prepared for you, buddy.
That's good.
Well, let's go with 2 more.
Sure.
Maybe 3.
Okay.
All right. If you could go back 20 years, I like this question. Ralph actually helped with this question.
Did he? Okay.
He did. He
Oh,
did.
Ralph.
On a previous podcast. Or like, go back to your 20 years. I guess that would put you around your 20-year-old self. You young guy, you. And you had a chance to sit down with yourself. What one piece of advice would you give yourself, knowing what you know now?
Sure. So I think the other book that's impacted me, other than the one I mentioned already, is called The Untethered Soul. And The Untethered Soul talks a lot about how whatever happened to you or whatever thoughts you even have, that doesn't define you, and that's not who you are, right? Because we have the opportunity to choose, right? And that's what's wonderful about being a human, is you have free will. So something can happen to you, but then you can actually change the trajectory of where you're going. You don't have to wallow in whatever that may be, right? So I think that's the whole thing is, focus on the fact that you create your own destiny. So that would be something I talk about is, your failures do not define you, is what I would say to myself. And I would also say smile more and worry less.
Okay.
I think we all have, anxiety and, and some challenges, especially with this whole, post-COVID life.
Sure.
Thank God we're able to get back to some sense of normal now. But, everybody's kind of going through their own, struggles, whatever it may be. And, smile more, worry less. And one of my friends back when I was younger in elementary school, and I don't know why I remember this, but clearly it's important. She used to say, smiles are free, so give them away. And one of my favorite movies is Patch Adams. He does that controlled little experiment where he's just like smiling at random people walking down the sidewalk to see what happens when they see that smile.
Right.
And the vast majority of them smile back. And it's just it's like this cool like psychological experiment. But the bottom line is whatever we're doing, right? Running a business, salesperson, realtor, etc. The happier you are, the more magnetized you are, right? I mean that and you talked about gratitude earlier, right? If we live our life in gratitude, we're more positive. Eventually, if you are going through challenges, that positivity and that gratitude is going to help continue to lift you up, right?
Amen.
Those would be the big ticket things that I think I'd talk to my younger self about.
I love it. I love it, man. I love it. I love you, man, because I want to acknowledge you. You have certainly helped me in my journey, and we put a lot of things out there that we've been successful with on social media, and a lot of it's just to promote, say, hey, we're in real estate and stuff like that. But you have definitely been an integral piece of the success that our team has had, from your friendship, through your coaching, through your professional development, but above all that, you're just a good, genuine human being.
I appreciate that,
and I thank you for joining me today.
That was
awesome.
No, I appreciate the opportunity, and I really love what you're doing with this podcast and with your business, and the things that you just said about me. I can put a mirror up and say it right back to you.
God bless you.
So, thank you.
Well, all right. Where can people reach out to you, coaching or whatever
Sure.
we've talked about today?
Yeah, absolutely. So I can be reached either on social media or you can stop by the office here in Bel Air. There are multiple opportunities there, but I'm on Facebook, Insta, and LinkedIn, and all the other ones as well. But those are the 3 that I spend the most time on. So if anybody has any questions or would like to connect, I'd be happy to.
Awesome. Last question. At the end of every podcast, we'd like to take the time for our guest to publicly acknowledge someone in their life that has truly, genuinely made a difference in who you are today. Who would you like to pay tribute to today?
Yeah, I mean, there's multiple people I think that I could mention, but the first folks that come to mind is not one person; it's my parents. I think for anyone with good, hardworking parents, you learn from them, kind of they model the world, right, for you a little bit in your earlier years. And, we learned most of our beliefs in the first 6 years that we're on the earth, right? So I think it was important for me to see, how to care about people, how to work hard, how to care about family, just a lot of good values that they instilled in me that made me who I am, and I know that without both of them, helping me mold that and them being involved in my life, I wouldn't be where I'm at, so definitely want to acknowledge them.
Well, Mr. and Mrs. Perry, you've raised a good son.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
Yeah. Again, if you want more information, you can certainly contact him. We'll get Jay to throw up his social media stuff on the screen. And if you haven't done so, please subscribe to our podcast anywhere you can download them. And then you can also watch the visual version on YouTube by searching the Markland Advantage or searching the TMA Connection. Or you can get with us on Facebook and Instagram at the Markland Advantage, or TikTok at TMA Real Estate.
It's good comedy too. It's good education and good comedy.
A good balance of the two. Maybe a little bit more comedy. But yes, so thank you again for joining us. Thank you for supporting the podcast. Until next time, folks, live your life to the fullest, and we'll see you soon. Take care.